Ladies and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we have got a beautiful show for you guys today. A personal favorite of mine. That's right. We're doing Stack That, Smack That today. Man, I'm just too excited about it. Stack That, Smack That today. On today's episode, it is going to be a grand old time. I'm having a little bit of PTSD from the last time we did this. We'll talk about that in just a second, though. Wes, how are things? How's it going?
Right. Oh, amazing. I have had a very full, very fun weekend as we are recording here. My parents were in town. Got to spend a lot of good time with them, long, fun, active days with them, showing them around LA, having nice dinners with them, with my girlfriend, and just having a wonderful time all together. Haven't seen them since about the start of this year, so it was really good to see family. And I am tuckered out in the best way possible, where it's just sunshine and activities, and you're just worn out from all the fun. I'm feeling really good. How are you? How's the weather? It's late June. You doing all right?
It's like Satan's butthole, pretty much. It was like 113 degrees today, so it was just.
Oh my gosh!
It was just. I mean, I'd like to say I'm exaggerating, but if I had to guess, I'm probably not. I've never personally experienced Satan's butthole, so I'll have to just leave it up to imagination.
No?
But
okay.
No, not yet. Maybe someday.
Comment down below if you want Noah to experience Satan's
butthole. That'd be cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. It's like 113 degrees today.
Golly.
It's hot, man. It's hot and dry. Just before we started recording the show, if it wasn't so absurdly loud, I would have the swamp cooler running right now as well. I had that running before we started recording just to cool down the room. But yeah, it's warm, but it's good, and it's it'll be it's a fun time. I started golfing recently. I'm not sure if I've talked about that on the show.
I don't think you have. Are you any good?
Golfing. No.
Okay.
So that's fun. It's like I'm throwing away dollars, but it's good. It's a good time. I look forward to getting better. Is I guess a good way of saying that. I'll say this. I went with a couple buddies of mine. A friend of mine, Josh. He's been asking me for a while to go ahead to when we can go ahead, and he golfs a good amount of time. He golfs pretty frequently, and he's been asking me for a while when I would come out and play a round of 18 with him, and I was just, dude, I don't know, I'm not good. And he's always like, nobody's good. You just gotta come play. Like, that's it. Like, nobody's good at golf. Like, you just gotta do it. And so I went, and he said that if based on how his first time golfing went and how I golfed, he said I probably would have done better than him. So,
okay.
I'm pretty sure I double bogeyed like every hole, but as soon as you as long as you get one down the fairway, it's a good time. It's a good time. You feel great. You're just wow, I am better than Tiger Woods. It's just, you are on top of the world, and it's just the best thing on earth. So, but all that being said, whenever I golf, it still feels like Satan's butthole. So it's just
the weather doesn't change.
Tie a bow on that. Yeah, it was the perfect time for me to start golfing. Is when it hit the triple digits. Was really brilliant to me to start doing that then. So. Yeah, it was a brilliant idea. But you know what? Maybe we'll have the triple digits. Maybe the quadruple digits on listens or views on this episode, huh? What do you think? Hey,
oh my gosh.
Listeners, you want to share the pod on social media? The social media content is down below. There you go, all our handles. Go ahead and give us a follow while you're here. As always, like, subscribe, ring the bell. It's a fun time, and we always love it and appreciate it. We're up to 60 something, somewhere in the 60s of YouTube subscribers, which is really cool. Thank you. It was less than 50 before the season started, so that was cool. We've jumped a decent amount, and just a handful of episodes. So that's been really cool to watch those grow. cool to grow the fourth and troll family and see more trollers join the troll house.
Troll house.
I realize we never talked about what our
workshop. I mean, we just generally say trollers, but maybe we'll leave that in their hands.
If you are a carpenter and you can build a troll house, comment below. Let us know, and we will take that into consideration. And maybe, we'll let you know. We'll see what happens here. But as I said, we've got a super fun show for you guys today. We've got Stack That, Smack That, and we'll explain what that is in a little bit if you missed that from the season 1. But it's a grand old time. First things first, Wes, let us jump into the news. We got some exciting news today, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, yeah. We've got one new. There's not news. It's just
not
one
news.
new.
It's a new.
We got a singular new. The Rams signed Sony Michel. Let's go, dude! Whoa! Yeah. Cam Akers truthers better watch out.
Watch out,
guys. You never know.
No, I think I'm not. Listen, to provide any sort of fantasy analysis on this that we can, I'm personally not worried about Cam Akers. I think this was like hey, Kyron Williams doesn't look very good, and neither does who was it? Something Evans? Was it
Zach Evans?
Zach Evans, yeah. Zach Evans and Kyron Williams don't look very good, so maybe let's get another depth piece. That's it. That's all I'm thinking this is. I think it's still Cam Akers backfield. Yeah, so there's the fantasy analysis you can have on the grandpa Sony Michel joining another team. That's
something thinking of him as a grandpa. Yeah, well, there's fantasy analysis. There's some insight. Yeah. That's all that's happened this week. So, without further ado, let's just jump into Stack That, Smack That. Let's go, baby.
Yes. Listen, if you play fantasy football, you know or you're familiar with the phrase of a stack. If you're not familiar, a stack in fantasy football is when it's usually a quarterback and then a star skill player for that team. Both of those players on your fantasy team, so that you kind of get an advantage and you double up points a bit. It'd be like if you had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Each time Patrick Mahomes throws a touchdown to Travis Kelce, which is a lot. It's a lot, you guys. You essentially get double the points instead of having just Travis Kelce and getting 6 points for the touchdown. You then also get another 4 or 6 points depending on your scoring settings for Patrick Mahomes throwing the touchdown. So it's one play bringing in double the points essentially to your team. So there are lots of great stacks. You got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, or Devontae Smith, even with Jalen Hurts. You got Tua and Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. Those are the big ones people think about and talk about. But we want to provide a little bit more of some interesting stacks for you to think about, something to give more thought to, and something that we want to talk about and just share why we think these will be beneficial stacks for you in the fantasy football season. With that, though, Wes, tell us who is the 2 players making up your stack that for this year in fantasy football.
My stack that, this interesting, I think really great stack, is going to be Kirk Cousins and Alexander Mattison. I thought for a moment maybe it's Justin Jefferson and Alexander Mattison, or it's Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. Well, I then looked at the ADP, and Justin Jefferson is first overall. So it's really hard to imply that Justin Jefferson can even be stacked unless you're the first pick overall. But take a look at this. Just a reminder, as we've talked about Alexander Mattison, at least I have for several weeks now, his ADP is still 56 overall. It's still in the 6th round. Maybe it's the 5th round. It's someone I'm willing to reach on. If you watched the last episode, if you haven't, check out the YouTube video. Kirk Cousins, his ADP is 95 overall. So this is a very attainable stack based on the ADP. Now, just a reminder, Alexander Mattison, on an average, he gets 20 points per game. And when we convert that into the way that Dalvin Cook was utilized last year, that's still about 15 points per game, and that still would have been RB5 last season. And just some of the math that we did, if you think he's going to get 12 or more touches a game, then he is very likely going to be RB10 or better. So there's that alone. But Kirk Cousins has been slept on in the fantasy world since he has been a starter. He has never done worse than QB 15 his entire career as a starter. He has an average of finishing QB 9 his entire career since 2015. QB 8, QB 5, QB 6. Welcome to Minnesota. QB 12, 15, 11, 11, and last year was QB 8. On top of that, there is a statistic that the wide receiver one on the season, the QB that's throwing to the best wide receiver fantasy that season, also finishes around QB 9. So you have a top 10 running back and a top 10 QB potentially right there. This offense, if you have the running back, the starting running back, and the quarterback, you get every single point from this Minnesota Vikings offense. And we really believe they're going to be very good, because then you introduce Jordan Addison. Whenever he starts to excel this season as a rookie, he's going to help as well. Keep in mind, for those that don't know, they were the 7th highest scoring offense last year, 6th most offensive play calls last year, and as Noah mentioned in his excitement for Jordan Addison, 3rd most passing attempts as well. Top 10 running back, top 10 QB, you stack them together, this Vikings offense is going to get a lot of points, and let's not forget TJ Hawkinson's also there. I'm very interested in stacking Kirk Cousins, Alexander Mattison. I stack that. I like that, actually. Speaking of Kirk, I like that. That's my stack.
There you go. It took me a second to figure out where you were going to go with this, because usually, I mean, not that it's ever... it's not completely out of the ordinary, but when you think of a stack, you usually think a quarterback wide receiver or a quarterback tight end, that sort of thing. You think of it as, these plays are going, the ball can go from who to who in a single play, that sort of thing. And I slowly started to realize where you were going to go with this, because, if you stack them up, you're getting every point from this offense. Like that's how it's going to go, and whether it's and then sometimes you may get lucky and it'll be a a receiving touchdown by Alexander Mattison, and it'll be or something like that, or a long screen pass, something like that. He can get involved in the run game. Again, like we said earlier, we don't really know what this will look like for Alexander Mattison in the O'Connell era, but we do know that if he gets 12 touches a game, he'll be RB10. Like that's literally how his career trajectory has gone. So I like it a lot, and I think it's definitely something that is worth the value. I'm big on value, as I'll explain here in a little bit, but I think I think that's a stack that people aren't going to be thinking about, and I think that's something that people should be thinking about if they are listening to the show.
Yeah, and it's that thought of acquiring literally every single point from this Vikings offense. You get Alexander Mattison, you get Kirk Cousins. Everything has to go through at least one of them on every play. I mean, yes, it's not a 100% factor. There's going to be maybe Ty Chandler, the backup running back, might fill in or something. Who knows? Barring injuries. I mean, all these things that you just don't know. But every single touchdown that this high-scoring offense is going to get, you will receive points for. And that, to me, is incredibly attractive, and that value is also remarkable. So for me, Vikings offense, Kirk Cousins, Alexander Mattison, I stack that. Tell me who you are going to stack, who you are interested in stacking, Noah.
Happily, I will. As I just said, I'm all about value. Last year, my stack was Mike Evans and Tom Brady. Obviously, that was a dumpster fire comparable to Satan's butthole. But I'm back for more, and I'm back for more value because you can get both of these guys beyond the 5th round in your drafts. Take the value and run because I believe Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley are going to win leagues this year. Trevor Lawrence is one of my favorite picks in fantasy this year. He's coming off a 4,000 plus yard season and 25 touchdowns, and I think he's going to do even more. And what's interesting is that a lot of people are predicting this Trevor Lawrence breakout. And maybe we saw a little bit of it last year, but I think we're going to see it even bigger this year because he only had a 4.3% touchdown percentage last year on every completion versus touchdowns, that sort of thing. That was 18th in the league, so that was not very good, but it was 18th in the league, and Trevor Lawrence was 7th in pass attempts in the league. So there's a little bit of a disconnect there. It's showing that, dude, he's slinging it, but he's just not getting the ball in the end zone. And so we should see an uptick there. I think a big piece of that is going to be thanks to his new wide receiver one, Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley has not played football in 611 days. But the last time we saw him, he was elite. Through 5 games in 2021, he was averaging over 10 targets per game and was on pace to finish the season with nearly 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. And that was in a very poor offense with a very beyond his prime Matt Ryan throwing the football. I think having this duo on your fantasy team in 2023 is going to be lethal. You can get them after taking some key running backs or tight ends if you want to do that. I think getting both these guys is going to be very key to winning your leagues this year. I have high expectations for this stack, and I believe it's going to be something very, very special. So I'm really excited about Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, and I'm excited to stack them up if I can.
As you know, I have been on this Trevor Lawrence train for this whole season that we've been doing Fourth and Troll. And I also can see there is going to be this breakout. And what's interesting, too, is that both Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence last year were both slinging it, but they just could not get it in the end zone. And they both have this piece to help with that. We have the new offensive coordinator in Los Angeles to make that difference for Justin Herbert. Now Calvin Ridley can be that difference for Trevor Lawrence. It will be interesting to see where else the ball goes because Travis Etienne is still there and, he's still very young and still very good. There's still the other Christian Kirk who may take away some touchdowns. Obviously, at some point, he'll take away touchdowns. Evan Ingram is still there in his franchise tag. But doesn't it feel like the ball is just going to end up in Calvin Ridley's hands almost?
It really does.
It feels like there's a really good percentage. Like, I'm not going to say as far as like Stafford, Cooper Kupp kind of numbers where literally a third of Stafford's attempts were to Cooper Kupp, which is insane. This was obviously in their Super Bowl run. But it does feel like that there is going to be a lot of volume to Calvin Ridley. And I think it's absolutely worth taking Trevor Lawrence. You should take Trevor Lawrence. And if you do, stack that with Calvin Ridley. That's really cool, really interesting. And again, the value. I mean, part of the reason that Noah and I are talking about these different stacks is because, like, good luck stacking Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Oh my gosh. I mean, you have those are your first 2 picks. You have to be high enough. You have to need that stack in order. I mean, you have to be top 3 picks and just be like, I'm committed to this stack. I'm getting Jamar Chase no matter what, and then Joe Burrow no matter what. That's too much of an investment for us. And so this is what I especially love, just as you started out with. And out of curiosity, is that 611 days as of today, or is that 611 days for Calvin Ridley to play week 1? Is that as of right now?
That is 611 days as of today. So by the time the season starts, we'll be close to just under like 700 days.
That's amazing. Wow.
Nearly 2 years.
And that's probably why his ADP is, that is why his ADP has dropped to where it is that it's that same Deshaun Watson factor. It's like when you last played, you were really great, but it's been some time. But it's worth it. I think that's really interesting. Well done, Noah.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Let's talk about now the opposite here. Stacks we don't want. Stacks we are smacking away. Smack that. Wes, give us a stack that you're just saying smack that, and tell us why. Why are we just staying away here from these guys?
I say smack that to Jimmy Garoppolo and Davante Adams. So Davante Adams, you should draft. Duh. But you do not need Jimmy Garoppolo to add any more points. Jimmy Garoppolo has never been a fantasy football quarterback. He has never done better than QB 15 in his career. And I know that a good portion of his career was backing up Tom Brady in New England. But on top of this, he has only finished a full season twice-ish. I mean, ish. He has not fully played a full season. He has never done better than QB 15. And to put that into numbers, on the best season Jimmy Garoppolo had as a quarterback, that best season, 2019, they went to the Super Bowl, and he averaged 15 points a game. Yeah. And think about the weapons that they already had in San Francisco. I know Debo wasn't quite Debo yet, but he was still Deboing. There were so many great weapons and still nothing. In fact, you could see what he did last year with a Debo Samuel and a Christian McCaffrey and a surging Brandon Ayuk, and he still didn't get all of these points. He's not a fantasy football quarterback. Don't be worried about Davante Adams. You can have a great wide receiver that doesn't have a great fantasy quarterback, but don't stack Jimmy Garoppolo with Davante Adams. Smack that. Don't do it. Don't just... you're not going to have any special insight because Garoppolo's on a new team. Don't worry about Josh McDaniels and just any kind of New England system. That's all a lie. I've never believed in... Let me just say, I've never believed in this New England system, all right? It's just Belichick is a good defensive coach. Brady ran the show on offense. That was it. That's it. I'm not buying into Garoppolo and New England and all this garbage. So, smack that. Don't even draft Garoppolo. I didn't mean to get heated. Like all of a sudden,
It's like you read my mind, because as you were going, I was like, I don't think this happens, obviously. But in my mind, I was like, man, what if the connection they had in New England is just going to come back and, like, what if Jimmy Garoppolo is just going to be, like, the second coming of Brady for the second half of his career? Like, what if we're all wrong and Jimmy Garoppolo just throws the ball 700 times this season and throws for 5,500 yards and 58 touchdowns, and it's just like, we're just like, oh, well, I guess they saw something there in New England when they were doing... I'm just like, what are the... Like, how absurd. I mean, and then we just hate the Raiders as much as we hate the Patriots, probably, just because it was like, well, there you go.
Probably.
You know?
Yeah.
No, I fully agree with you, Wes. I think, Adams, I hope his ADP falls. That'll make him a little more attractive to me if I can get him, like, midway in the second round, maybe, like that sort of thing. Like, that would be a little more intriguing to me, but it is just interesting. It's obviously, he's now had, this will be his third different quarterback in 3 years. Fourth, actually, if you want to count Jarrett Stidham. And so it's like, you know what? He did a little bit with Jarrett Stidham. Like, we saw some good games there. Jimmy Garoppolo maybe would say is better than Jarrett Stidham. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo can still provide value enough for Davante Adams to be a borderline wide receiver one, like maybe a back end wide receiver one, that sort of thing. I have my doubts. I'm a little less eager to get Davante Adams on my team this season due to just his situation. But yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo should be in a trash can, dude. Just don't even. He should go undrafted. He should just. He's not going to provide value. We all know
the turn of going like, I mean, what if he's the second coming of Brady? And then finish you with, put him in a trash can.
Yeah.
Don't let him into our property. Just hated him. Anyway,
no thanks.
Point being, Davante Adams will still likely be a top 10 wide receiver, but you can have a great wide receiver and a mediocre fantasy quarterback. So that's my smack that. Tell us which stack you are smacking, my friend.
I might try and do a transition there. Just like
yeah. We'll do that in post.
Yeah.
Like an equals 3.
And so yeah. Yeah. That'll be nice. Listen. I'm smacking the new favorite Chicago Bears duo. All right. I'm smacking away Justin Fields and DJ Moore. This one's hard for me because a lot of people are really high on Justin Fields this year. And I still have him inside my top 10. I still think he's going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. It's just hard to justify pairing an exciting new stack with, Justin Fields and DJ Moore when Justin Fields was 27th in the league in pass attempts last year and averaged only 150 yards per game. Like, that's kind of difficult for me to be like, oh, you know what this screams? An elite wide receiver quarterback duo. Like, this is that's not the case for me here. I just don't see the value. I have Justin Fields top 10. It's not because of the passing game. It is because of his ability to run the football. And he's special in that regard. But this team doesn't really pass. And I know a lot of people are like, well, he's going to have a full fleet of weapons. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. It's just a scheme thing, I think. I don't think they're going to be passing the football. And I just don't trust it to be beneficial enough to you, especially on a consistent basis with DJ Moore, who surpassed 4 receiving touchdowns for the first time in his 5-year career just last season. Like he had never gone over 4 touchdowns. Year after year, we were all like, it's got to happen this year. Come on, it's just the regression. Like he's getting unlucky and all that stuff. And it's like, well, he's in year 5 and it just happened. So, and I mean, granted, the Panthers quarterback play was terrible last year. So maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe they do end up being this duo. We've seen time and again, Josh Allen gets Stephon Diggs. He turns into an elite passer. Jalen Hurts gets A.J. Brown. He turns into an elite passer. Tua gets Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle as well and turns into an elite passer. Joe Burrow gets Jamar Chase. We've seen it all happen. Those are the stacks you want. I don't think this is the stack that you want. So I am smacking that away. To get both of these guys on your team, you have to spend 2 of your top 5 picks to make it happen. And they're both going in the 5th round, and I just don't think that's worth it at this point to make that kind of sacrifice. I think, Justin Fields is going earlier. I think DJ Moore is going in the 5th round. That's what I've seen on fantasypros.com is where I was looking at that, which combines a few different options there, but I just don't think it's worth it. You got to spend big picks early to get these guys on your team, and like I said, it's just that this team isn't going to throw the ball. I don't think it's going to be a situation where, the rough around the edges quarterback gets the receiver and then just goes nuclear. Like this, there's only 32 teams in the NFL, guys, and he was 27th. So I don't see it. I don't think it's worth it. And so for that reason, I'm staying away from the Bears duo. Justin Fields, I'm excited about. But I'm not going to try and pair him up with DJ Moore. I just don't think they're going to connect on a consistent basis the same way that some of these other guys can and will. And so, for that reason, smack that away, get him out of here. Chicago,
Chicago, the Bears, the Bears. Say Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you're saying this because there is, I think, a regular real-world appeal to this connection. I think there is a likely some kind of building up between DJ Moore and just helping the passing game improve. But we don't talk about the real world here. We talk about fantasy.
Nope.
And I'll just admit, as I've admitted before, that I've disrespected DJ Moore as a wide receiver, and in Carolina he succeeded and did great, and He did his best. I wouldn't say he did great. He did his best because he had like 8 different quarterbacks in like 3 or 4 years. It was absurd. And even last year, oh my gosh, he had every quarterback in the world. He didn't get 1,000 yards last season, but the previous 3 or 4 seasons, he did have 1,000 yards, and there was that. But in fantasy, that can only do so much when you're only getting 4 touchdowns. So he doesn't have 1,000 yards last season. He gets 7 touchdowns, but he doesn't have 1,000 yards. So he's good. He's fine.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a great reminder, is what you're saying, Noah, is that the Justin Fields hype in fantasy this year has nothing to do with the passing game.
Yeah.
It is all his legs. It is the rushing upside has gotten me to believe that his ceiling is QB3 on the season. Like, there is a real possibility he could be a top 10 quarterback. And that's just because that's the position that the Bears have given him, is quarterback. But the fantasy football value is the rushing upside. DJ Moore, as exciting as that trade was to get the first pick overall, yes, thank you for that reminder. It's nothing else to add. I'm just agreeing and very, very pleased to know that. And that, golly, the 5th or 6th round for DJ Moore. I mean, no offense, but that's kind of high.
Like, I'm going to take Calvin Ridley over him any day of the week. Like,
Justin Herbert's there.
Yeah.
What a steal.
Yeah. There's just so many other options available. So for all those reasons, that's just, the Bears duo is dead. I just was trying to keep going with the alliteration there.
I like, the Bears dead is dead. Gone. Smack dead.
It's 100, guys. It's 113 degrees. Okay, it's hot.
We're melting.
I gotta go get in the pool. in the pool. Yeah. Listen.
Fair enough.
That's it. That's Stack That, Smack That. This is always one of my favorite episodes that we do. Always so fun to just dive in, talk about the just, if this is truly beyond like drafting, beyond the research you can do. This is a level up. This is a head start. This is a jump ahead of your other fantasy, league mates, that sort of thing. You are getting a leg up on these guys by pairing up some of these great duos that you can get with great value, that sort of thing. So that is going to do it for the show. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Are you buying in on Calvin Ridley's return with Trevor Lawrence? You smacking away Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams? Let us know in the comments while you're there. Subscribe, ring the bell, make Tuddy the Troll smile by hitting the subscribe button, leaving a like, and be sure to check us out on all our social medias below. Join us next Tuesday. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been For the Troll Fantasy.